Colleagues, again, we are back in session. We have a number of items to take up. We're going to motions and resolutions. I'd like to recognize our Majority Leader, Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 63 to allow the following bills to be taken up today without reference to file for purposes of concurring and Senate amendments. The bills are AB 3, Williams by Gonzalez, AB 798, Bonilla, AB 908, Gomez, AB 914, Brown, AB 1058, Baker, AB 1352, Eggman.
Without objection, that request is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to suspend Joint Rule 62A, the file notice requirements, to allow the Transportation Committee to meet and to hear the following bills today, September 11th, upon call of the chair and a room to be determined. The bills are AB 1250, Bloom, ACR 100, Allen, ACR 107, Grove, SCR 45, Berryhill, and SCR 51, Stone.
Without objection, that request is granted. Colleagues, we're going to start moving through these bills. Before we do that, I want to make an announcement. Among our colleagues, we have a new father. The person whose bill is being presented, Assemblymember Williams, has a baby girl as of today. And with that, we are going to take up Mr. Williams' bill, AB 3, without reference to file. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 3 by Assemblymember Williams, enacting the local government.
Colleagues, if I could please ask you if you could limit your conversations so that we can continue with the proceedings. Ms. Gonzalez is going to present Mr. Williams' bill. Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Members, I'm bringing up AB 3 for concurrence. It's a district bill for Mr. Williams. And if you're so willing to vote for this bill, I'll show you the beautiful picture of his daughter. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 41, noes 19. Senate amendments are concurred in. Colleagues, again, if I could please ask you to keep your conversations to a minimum. We're going to now take up AB 798. Without reference to file, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 798 by Assemblymember Bonilla, enacting to post-secondary education.
Ms. Bonilla, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Present to you AB 798, back on concurrence in Senate amendments. The bill saves college students billions of dollars by giving professors the resources and training to adopt open educational resources. Senate amendments streamlined the grant process for local campuses and addressed concerns from the Department of Finance. The bill has had bipartisan support throughout the entire process. It is sponsored by the CSU Student Association and supported by the Student Senate for the California Community Colleges, CSU, and the California Community College Office of the Chancellor. Thank you. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 64, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. We're going to move now to AB 914. Without reference to file, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 914 by Assemblymember Brown, enacting to transportation.
Ms. Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, AB 914 has come over from the Senate. The amendments that were taken were technical in nature and clarify Caltrans' role in the project. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 57, noes 3. The Senate amendments are concurred in. We're now going to move to AB 1058. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1058 by Assemblymember Baker, and actually into pupil safety.
Ms. Baker, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise in support of AB 1058. This bill you voted unanimously for. It went over to the Senate. They voted unanimously for it as well. It protects kids from child abuse in our schools and school programs. It's a great bill, and the Senate did not do anything wrong to it. I urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 66, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. And moving now to AB 1352, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1352 by Assemblymember Eggman, and actually into deferred entry of judgment.
Assemblymember Eggman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. AB 1352 is back for concurrence. The bill is amended to incorporate Judicial Council amendments. I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 41, noes 29. The Senate amendments are concurred in. Colleagues, we're going to be resuming action at this time. If I could ask you to please minimize your conversations. And we're going back to motions and resolutions. I'd like to recognize our Majority Leader, Mr. Holden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are committee reports at the desk relative to the following bills: Senate Bill 145, Senate Bill 150, Senate Bill 377, SCR 79, SJR 11, and AB 232. I request unanimous consent that the committee reports be deemed read and deemed adopted, and to suspend Assembly Rule 63 to allow the bills to be taken up without reference to file for purposes of concurring and Senate amendments or for purposes of third reading.
Is there any objection to this request? Seeing and hearing none, the committee reports are deemed read and adopted, and the request is granted. Colleagues, we are going to proceed with additional items. If I could please ask everyone to minimize your conversations. Thank you. We will now take up SB 150 without reference to file. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 150 by Senator Wynn, enact relating taxation to take effect immediately, tax levy.
Assemblymember Christina Garcia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Senate Bill 150 will assist former students of Corinthian College by exempting them from state income tax on forgiven student loans. On May 4th, Corinthian College declared bankruptcy and closed or sold all 107 of its former campuses nationwide, severely impacting more than 13,000 Californian students. Unfortunately, former Corinthian College students have been denied the opportunity to graduate, but they still remain liable for loan debt. Currently, if the students choose to have these loans discharged through the different federal, state, or private programs options for debt loan forgiveness, our state law will treat the discharged debt as income tax liability. The students have been most affected by Corinthian closure are low-income Californians, veterans, and students of color. Let's not keep these students between ongoing student debt with no education and a wall of state income tax liability, neither of which they can afford. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes, aye 66, no 0. Measure passes.
Members, we are going to take up SCR 79. Without reference to file, clerk will read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 79 by Senator McGuire relative to the Triana-Annandale State Park.
Mr. Dodd, you may open.
Mr. Speaker and members, Annandale State Park is located in Sonoma County and features breathtaking views. SCR 79 will urge the California State Park and Recreation Commission to add Trione's name to Annandale State Park title in order to recognize Henry Trione in his many contributions to Sonoma. Henry Trione was a long-term resident of Sonoma County before his recent death at the age of 94. He gave so much of his fortune in support of the arts and social service programs and spearheaded the efforts to create one of Sonoma County's most beloved parks, Annandale, in the 1970s. He continued to support the park during the budget crisis of 2012 when the state parks were closing down. SCR 79 has received unanimous bipartisan support and is supported by the Sonoma County and City of Santa Rosa, the Trione family. And by the way, the Trione family has agreed to cover all the cost of adding the Trione name to the park. I think that's in great keeping with his traditions, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Seeing no discussion or debate on the resolution, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 68, noes 1. Resolution is adopted. Members, we are on SJR 11. SJR 11. Clerk will read.
Senate Joint Resolution 11 by Senator Leyva relative to the United States Postal Service.
Mr. Dodd, you may again open.
Mr. Speaker and members, SJR 11 by Senator Levia urges Congress to take action to protect the important services of the U.S. Post Office. It would ask for a moratorium placed on
Members. Mr. Gatto, you may sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really appreciate that. It would ask for a moratorium on planned shutdowns of mail sorting centers and protect door-to-door delivery for all of our constituents. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Cooley, you are recognized.
In the spirit of the end of session, I do wish to note that if these planned shutdowns happen, then surely, boom, goes the dynamite.
Mr. Jones, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what boom goes the dynamite has to do with anything, but Bo does know politics.
Ms. Baker, you are recognized.
I can't even.
I can. And Mr. Dodd, would you like to close?
No, Grove.
Sorry. Ms. Grove, you were hiding behind Mr. Harper. Ms. Grove, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think because the floor jockey could not even pronounce that senator's name, he should take a lesson from Lady Gaga and use his poker face.
Mr. Medina, you are recognized.
It's as if Mr. Dodd didn't pass his Spanish class.
Mr. Harper, you are recognized.
Happy Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor.
Members, you could spread these out a little bit. Ms. Chang, you are recognized.
Well, clearly it's on like Donkey Kong.
Mr. Chu.
Move the previous question.
Move the previous question. Takes 5. Moving the previous question takes 5 members. Mr. Gomez, Ms. Waldron, Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Gordon, and Mr. Levine move the previous question. This is a voice vote. Members, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Resolution is, pardon me, that is on the procedural motion. Debate is closed. Mr. Dodd, you may close on the resolution.
Yes, with my apologies to Senator Leva, I respectfully, both she and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 51, noes 21. Resolution is adopted. We're moving to Mr. Obernolte's measure AB 232 without reference to file. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 232 by Assemblymember Obernolte, an act relating to health facilities declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Obernolte, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, AB 232 would solve a critical and very time-sensitive problem for the city of Tehachapi. As most of you are aware, hospitals in the state of California are required to seismically retrofit their facilities. They can do this in one of 2 ways. They can retrofit the facilities that they already have, or they can build brand new facilities. The hospital in the city of Tehachapi elected to build a brand new facility. That facility was to have been completed earlier this year. Unfortunately, due to several construction delays, that hospital will not be completed until next summer and will not be occupied until next winter. Unfortunately, because the hospital in Tehachapi did not apply for an extension of the time to comply with the seismic requirements, the existing hospital will be forced to close as of January 1st of this year if we do not act. The purpose of AB 232 would give that hospital an extension of the time to comply so that they can move into their new facility. That will preserve access to that critical hospital for the citizens of Tehachapi. Now, I'm aware in this chamber that quite often haters going to hate, and bills always seem to have opposition. But in this case, there is no opposition to this bill. There's no need to shake it off. I would simply ask that you vote aye on this very important piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Obernolte. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 72, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 72, no 0 on the bill. Measure passes.